Hi, I'm Charlotte Ellis.
And I'm Sophie Carnevale.
And today we'll be talking about the World Surf League competition, Men and Women's Freshwater Pro, that took place at Kelly Slater Surf Ranch in Lemoore, California on September 19th through the 21st. So first we'll talk about some background info. Number 1, what is the WSL? It stands for the World Surf League, which organizes the annual tour of professional surf competitions and broadcasts events live at their website, where you can experience the athleticism, drama, and adventure of competitive surfing, anywhere and anytime it's on. Travel alongside the world's best male and female surfers to the most remote and exotic locations in the world, and fully immerse yourself in the sport of surfing with live events, broadcasts, social updates, event highlights, and commentary on desktop and mobile. The World Surf League is headquartered in Los Angeles, California, with offices throughout the globe. It is dedicated to bringing the athleticism, drama, and adventure of pro surfing to fans worldwide, also to promoting professional surfers as world-class athletes, and celebrating the history, elite athletes, diverse fans, and dedicated partners who together embody professional surfing. So when was the WSL founded? The original governing body was known as the International Professional Surfers, the IPS, which was founded in 1976 and was spearheaded by Hawaiian surfers Fred Hemmings and Randy Rarick. The next evolution was the Association of Surfing Professionals, the ASP, which was founded in 1983 by Ian Cairns, and later in the 90s it gave birth to the company's philosophy of world's best surfers, world's best waves. Finally, in 2015, we saw the ASP officially become the World Surf League. Finally, what we will be talking about is what is the WSL Championship Tour, the event that we looked at today. There are 11 events of the Men's Championship Tour and 10 events of the Women's Championship Tour. The events we will be discussing are the finals for both the men and women's competitions. Throughout our presentation, we will be talking about the different scores and rewards given to the surfers from this competition. So in order to do that, we'll be looking at the scoring guidelines. First off, all surfers' scores are the total of their 2 highest scored waves. This does not change regardless of which WSL tour or championship they are competing in. By scoring surfers on only 2 waves, formerly they were scored on 3, the level of performance is pushed as surfers attempt for bigger scores. In all of the non-priority QS heats and CT heats, the maximum number of waves scored is 15. In one-on-one heats, there's no wave maximum. A panel of 5 judges scores each wave on a scale of 1 to 10. For every scoring ride, the highest and lowest scores of the 5 judges are discounted, and the surfer receives the average of the remaining 3 scores. There is no limit on the number of the waves that will be scored, but the 2 best scoring waves, each out of a possible 10, are added together to become the surfer's heat total out of a possible 20. The current WSL judging criteria was rolled out at events in 2010. The elements that judges score the waves include commitment and degree of difficulty, innovative and progressive maneuvers, combination of major maneuvers, variety of maneuvers, speed, power, and flow. When looking at the guidelines for both the women and men's scoring, there is no apparent difference between the scoring for either men or women. Now let's take a look at the scores for the top 4 surfers for both the men and women's finals. Each surfer had the opportunity to surf 3 right and 3 left breaks. Their highest right and highest left are highlighted in orange, and their total score is located in the right-hand column. As you can see, the top 2 surfers for both men and women's are very close in scoring, whereas the 3rd and 4th place surfers vary greatly in their scores between the men and women's scores. Overall, the women appear to have more consistent scores from wave to wave, whereas the men have a greater range of scores, even between their 2 highest scores. For example, you can see in Gabriel Medina's rides, he has a 9.93 for his high left and an 8.93 for his high right. Whereas for the first place, Lakey Peterson for the women, her left was an 8.7 and her right was a 9.3, which have a lower range between those 2 scores. When looking at the ways in which the WSL score both the men and women's events, we can say that it relates to the concept of soft essentialism. As a currently ascendant hegemonic ideology of the professional class, soft essentialism can be defined as a view that valorizes the liberal feminist ideal of individual choice for girls and women while retaining a largely naturalized view of boys and men. For example, the female competitors are held to the same standards as the male surfers, but there is no change in how the men are viewed and scored. This concept is also exemplified in the uniforms of the competitors. On the right, we have the male uniform, a short-sleeved rash guard and board shorts. And as you can see on the left, we have the female uniform, a short-sleeved rash guard and board shorts. In this way, women are showing their equality not only in the level of performance by their scores and such, but also by what they wear. This uniform shows audience members that these women are here to compete as surfers and not as objects in revealing bathing suits that accentuate their figure. Rather, they steer away from that attire in favor of something more conducive to competing. Although there is virtually no difference in the way that women are scored versus men, we still see that there is a large participation inequity between the men and women. It's pretty blatantly clear here by these lists that there's much higher participation from men than women, 2-1, 36 male contestants versus the 18 female competitors. Coakley describes the general participation inequities in sports like this. Today, most people in the United States and many other nations agree that girls and women should have opportunities to play sports, but there continue to be disagreements about the sports they should play and the funding and other resources that should support their participation. These disagreements perpetuate gender inequities worldwide. Female athletes remain underrepresented in U.S. high school, college, and professional sports, in most sports competitions involving teams worldwide, including the Olympics and Paralympics, and in nearly all informal and alternative sports globally. Personally, I have seen these inequities within surf culture growing up. I am from San Clemente, California, home to several internationally known surf spots and national surf competitions. Because of this, the surf culture in San Clemente is highly competitive and localized. I even grew up and went to school with Griffin Colapinto, the number 4 male surfer. Not only did we have a high school surf team, but every middle school in my town had a competitive surf team as well. This is particularly notable because our middle schools had no other sports teams. All their sports were played outside of school on club and travel teams. However, these teams definitely did not have equal participation between girls and boys. These inequities continued up from middle school to high school and eventually to the professional competition, with that ratio of males to females gradually increasing as the competition increases. When looking at this, why might female participation in surfing gradually decrease as the competition increases?
The commentary of the 2019 Freshwater Pro was in general pretty balanced between male and female competitors. The only discrepancies tended to be that the commentators had more advice and notes to give female competitors, while they had mainly praise and exclamations of wonder for the male athletes. The vocabulary around male athletes' performances tended to be comparisons to machinery or superhuman concepts, as they see the body of male athletes as the peak of human performance. The following is a transcription of commentary about Gabriel Medina's rated 8.27 performance. Commentator 1. We can expect to see some serious fireworks from Gabriel Medina in the coming rounds. Commentator 2. Wouldn't it be incredible if this was your low gear, backhand air reverse with his eyes closed? 1. One hand tied behind his back, blindfolded. 2. Gabriel Medina's a super freak, and we're going to see that later in the competition. Although commentators certainly are not outwardly biased in their discussion of female competitors, they don't have the same awe for their performance. The following is transcribed from Lakey Peterson's 8.87 scored wave, where she drops out of the wave toward the end of the run. Commentator 1. What happened on that last wave? Commentator 2. Oh, that's just the fatigue that comes from such a long wave, but these girls are finely tuned athletes. Stealth feminism is defined in Cookie and Messner's No Slam Dunk as referring to the way in which sports are an arena where feminist principles and goals can be articulated and where feminist strategies for change can be achieved without an explicit declaration of those questions, principles, goals, or achievements as feminist. The 2019 Freshwater Pro is a big event in the world of surfing because it marks a year to the day of the first professional surfing competition in which female and male athletes receive equal prize money. After advocating for years, female athletes now earn the same winnings as men in the WSL. Because of this change, there's been a shift in the distribution of wealth in the sport. With equal pay plus sponsorships, the total take-home for female surfers now rivals and often exceeds that of their male counterparts. For example, at the Freshwater Pro, the prize money for both sets of competitors was $100,000. This equal pay, combined with sponsorships, resulted in the winner of the women's competition, Lakey Peterson, making $331,200 in total earnings, $1,200 more than the winner of the men's competition, Gabriel Medina. The advocacy done for equal pay in women's professional surfing is an example of stealth feminism, because it was not done under the guise or label of feminism in any way. In fact, the term was never even used by advocates. Surfing has the unfortunate reputation of being a historically exclusive and bigoted sport. The locals-only culture and male-centric history has been a deterrent for female athletes for many years. In an interview at the Freshwater Pro, competitor Stephanie Gilmore talks about trying to find footage of female surfers that came before her, like Rel Sun, a female surfer from the 60s and 70s, and how that history is lost, mostly because there wasn't anyone paying attention to or recording female surfers at the time. The athletes attribute the fight for equal pay not to the labels of feminist ideals, but because of the missing history of female surfers and the want to inspire future women in the sport. Gender marking is defined by Coakley in Sport and Society, Issues and Controversies as establishing male concepts as the status quo, whereas female concepts are the feminine exception, that is, referring to men's events as the events and to women's events as the women's events. The WSL could be considered progressive in many respects when it comes to the differences in men's and women's athletics within the league. For example, they provide equal opportunity for both men and women athletes by having both on the same website, rather than a clearly higher budget or better updated men's website and a seemingly afterthought of a women's website. But regardless of the progressiveness of this, there is still evidence of gender marking throughout the website. Gender marking can be seen in the order and ease in which men's statistics can be viewed compared to women's. Here is a still from the World Surfing League website. Here we see on the website, under the Events tab, men's tours and championships are listed ahead of the women's. The same orders are seen under Watch, Rankings, and Athletes. Arguably, this might be due to some arbitrary reasoning, like men coming before women alphabetically, but the reality is that it adds to the idea that men's sports is the standard while women's is a variation. Because of this structuring, men's statistics and information get front immediate exposure, while women's information tends to need to be scrolled to or found on a following page.
After discussing some of our course concepts in regards to the WSL Championship Tour, we have some questions to ponder. 1. How might these ideas, concepts, and observations carry over into youth and/or non-professional surfing leagues? 2. What may be some of the contributing factors as to why men and women's surf competitions seem to be more gender equal in comparison to other sports such as basketball, soccer, baseball, softball, etc.? 3. How does the treatment of female surfers at the Freshwater Pro speak to the progress made in professional surfing? What still needs to improve? Thank you guys so much for listening. We hope that you were able to take away some great info from our presentation.